Ooh, what is going on, everyone? It's your favorite racing, fighting, and role-playing gaming Jackal Gadget here, and welcome to another Gran Turismo 7 video. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, because as you normally live stream things. So today we're doing my top 15 cars in Gran Turismo 7. Now, I know it's been a while since I've done a top 10, a top 5, a top 15. But it actually has been a minute since I actually done said videos. So the rules apply. My personal opinion: VGT slash console cars are banned, and there will be ties. So if you're new to basically to something like this, it would be it would be my own take on on any sort of ties, because um, I've seen Moonlight Republic did one video. So if you disagree with my choices, then that's fine. So I've seen one of my friends, Moonlight Republic, did this, and we also had one of the channels I followed, Enough Right, did this. So I'm going to do my own take, but instead of a top 10, it's going to be a top 15. So yeah, so this is how it's going to work. There will be basically I'll tell you guys about the vehicle, then it'll be how to get it, and lastly some lore behind it. So literally, me being me, what I'm gonna do is actually do all three of those things in this one video. So without any further ado, and this is probably gonna be the last video before the end of the year. So hopefully in 2025 things will go as well as everything else did. So without further ado, let's get started. Going at number 15, we have the Ford Mustang Boss 429. Now, the Boss 429 is actually one of those vehicles that you don't usually see in that many racing games more often. Usually when it comes to this vehicle, you only see two variants of it, the Mark 1 and the Boss 302. The Boss 429 was famous for its inclusion in John Wick, being the vehicle of said person, and not to mention TLDR. The car itself is pretty cool. So in order to actually get this vehicle, you can actually get it in any Legends car dealership, or you can actually get this as a gift for free once you actually complete one of the cups. And doing said cup will actually guarantee you access to this car specifically, either that or a Camaro or a Dodge Challenger. I ended up with a Dodge Challenger on my playthrough, so yeah, that means I have to spend extra money on it. But we're gonna say when it actually makes a lot more sense to do so. Anyway, so yeah, in order to actually, in terms of the pricing of this vehicle, the car costs you $249. That's $249, my bad. 249 grand in order to get this car, and not to mention it's 100 grand to wide body, 100 grand to wide body it, and basically so long story short, the car itself is actually pretty cool to actually upgrade. It's just that it's a bit twitchy when it comes to my tuning style, which is obviously suspension being soft while the sway bars being stiff as heck. So yeah, long story short, it's only comfortable if you're not going sideways. So there's that, to say the least. But more importantly, the car itself is pretty amazing. Now, this car actually recreated this car many times, and its first appearance was in Midnight Club, specifically Midnight Club LA, when you actually do one of the time trials and you win a Ford Mustang, which is the one you do in Santa Monica. So yeah, that's actually the lore behind the Ford Mustang, and we can move on to the next one. Coming at number not 14, my bad. Number 14, we have the 1968 Mini Cooper S. And you're probably wondering, okay, how the heck is this car extremely fast? Well, this thing had a Honda motor in it. Specifically, it's a K20, K24C1 from the Honda Civic Type R. Now, in order to get this vehicle, you can actually buy this for, I think, easily around the 50, 60 grand range. Or you can actually win this car for when you first got into the game, and yeah, you end up getting this vehicle. So yeah, long story short, you basically have a really interesting vehicle that you can actually drive around in, and it would be a lot more simpler to actually just go for. But then again, who knows what could possibly happen with the next one. So yeah, the history behind this vehicle is the fact that I usually call this car smoky. In fact, this is actually one of the many vehicles that are iconic in my arsenal of vehicles that I use in the live streams. Mainly the fact that the car itself is extremely nimble but extremely powerful for what it is. But hey, if it works, it works. But yeah, for the most part, the car itself is actually pretty amazing. So yeah, the car itself, you can actually engine swap it to a K20, and if you buy it, you actually get more tire width. That's just my personal thing to do. Just buy the car in order to get more tire width. So that way, actually, the corners a lot better. But many guys did not realize that this car was actually was in. I forgot which live stream was that I actually ended up doing a stoppie with this thing. But then again, it's not. But then again, I nicknamed this car Smokey. Now, the reason why I call this car Smokey is because I kid not, like literally, the earliest of the. I think, matter of fact, I had the game since day one, and basically, I ended up tuning this vehicle to the point where the car ends up doing a burnout while accelerating. And yeah, let's just say that the car itself is extremely fast for what it is, even though it actually was spinning its wheels. But yeah, overall, the car itself is not bad to actually drive around in. But overall, what I actually do think about this vehicle is the fact that this car, you can actually make a few iconic vehicles for ranging from Mr. Beam to the Italian Job, the older Italian Job, not the newer Italian Job, and not to mention, I think there was one in the Cars movie. I don't know, to be completely honest. In the Cars franchise, not the Cars movie, because Cars movie has a Fiat. Anyway, so so yeah, that's basically it. So let's move on to number 13. Number 13 goes to the 2002 Honda NSX Type R. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. What? Why in the world did you put it? Well, how did the NSX end up at number 13? Well, as many guys know, I love NSXs. As much as I like Evos. The NSX was actually one of my dream cars in my dream car list, basically. Now, was wondering why the NA2 specifically? It's because because a lot of people did not like the NA1, and in a retaliation of one of those tests, everyone bought an NA2 as a compromise because they're like, well, I don't want to buy a car that doesn't know how to appreciate the driver, so we're gonna buy the NA2 instead. That's basically how that works. Well, yeah, it's actually quite unfortunate that that an actual test in the in the licensing ends up giving us well, this basically. Well, I say, oh, it forces us to buy this, so I was like, all right, we're good. It wasn't until literally a few weeks later that everybody was able to actually get the NSX NA1, and they did nothing to it. Um, so I was wondering, okay, did I? Why did I modify the car the way I did, which is literally just black on silver. And the reason being is because of a certain game called The Fast and the Furious, and I actually wanted, and I was hoping that we actually get parts from Sorcery, which is obviously a bike kit company, but I guess they don't. I guess they don't exist anymore, which probably would make a lot more sense. But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, that's my dream kit. Yeah, the Sorcery kit of all things was actually my dream kit for the NSX. Um, Now, keep in mind, I kind of, and actually did know this already. The car itself already had a facelift model. And no, it's not the NA2. It's still NA. And no, and did realize that it was NA2, but the NA2 was a uglier front end. It was the one from 2005 all the way to 2007. It did not look good at all. So there's that for the most part. So yeah, for the most part, the car itself, you can actually max this car out relatively easily. You just need just need a few dollars, and then boom, you got yourself a freaking rocket machine. So in order to get this vehicle, you can actually get it from either the used car dealership, or you can actually get it from the brand central, since that car is actually in 2002. Which I can say the same thing with the with the S15. Wait, no, never mind. The S15 actually is from '02. My bad. So yeah, that's basically it for the NSX. And yeah, I actually do like driving around this thing. And basically driving around this thing with a J30 boosted, and it is music to my ears. Let's move on to the next one. Up next, we have the Toyota Mark III, well, Mark III Supra, which was wondering, this is the 3.0 GT, which was wondering, that's the 3-liter 7M GTE, other than the 1JZ GTE. So if I was wondering, the 1JZ GTE is actually a turbo. It's a turbo 2.5 inline 6, while the 7M GTE is a 3-liter inline 6, which is what this Supra is in. Supra has in. So there's that for the most part. Now, so if I was wondering how to get this vehicle, you can actually get this vehicle from the used car dealership only for basically around 70 to 80 grand. Yeah, it's actually pretty cheap for what it is. Now, I said pretty cheap, but I know how you guys thought about how expensive the car is. Let me tell you, the car does not have the amount of cost that the Mark IV has. Except for the Mark V. The Mark V you can actually buy easily. So yeah, for the most part, the car itself is pretty amazing. The car, although it has a lot of parts from different vehicles, unfortunately, it did not have a wing option. It's literally just either stock wingless or basically a custom wing. That's basically it. Everything else is like completely normal. Actually, had a license plate delete on the front, and yeah, that's really messing up on basically on braking. So there's that for the most part. And like I said, we all make mistakes sometimes. So yeah. Um, so yeah, that's one pop like car down, and there's many more to go. And that is number 12, which is the Mark III Supra. Cool car, really good modification wise. I guess so the 2JZN, which in my opinion is the most quiet motor of all time. So there's that. Coming in number 11, we have the 2002 Genesis G70 3.0T. Now, for those who are wondering, okay, this is a four-door. How the heck is a four-door being a Mark III, a NSX, a Mini Cooper, and a Ford Mustang? Well, it's because of availability. Now, with the NSX, you can actually get it from the Brand Central. This car is Brand Central only. And not to mention, the car itself is a full-on beast under the hood. So what's the wondering is a 3-liter V6 turbo. And it also comes in all-wheel drive. So what you're looking at is basically a Infiniti Q60 with all-wheel drive and a turbo, a big old turbo, may I add. And this car was keeping up with 800, 900 horsepower supercars. This car was keeping up with 1,000 horsepower coupes, 1,100 horsepower muscle cars. This car was a epitome of. This car was black Air Forces, and the car was legit slept on. I'm not gonna hold you. That car was incredibly slept on. Now, those are wondering, okay, how the heck is this car slept on? Because, for it to be literally, when the game first came out, no one knew that Genesis was in the game. And for those wondering, no, this car is not a mod. The car is in the game. You just have to look at the Asian slash Pacific dealership, and you'll end up on with and you have to look into the Korean side of things. So that's the Hyundai. Then there's Genesis, and hopefully we get Kia for some reason. I don't know why I want a Kia in the game. As long as not a freaking Kia Soul, that's basically what I was hoping for. As long as not a Kia Soul, then we're good. A Kia Forte, that's fine. A Kia Stinger, that's fine too. K5, that's debatable, basically. So yeah, that's basically it for the Genesis. Let's move on to the next one. Up next, we have the Dead Tomaso Pantera. Now, in order to get this vehicle, you have to go to the there's two ways. You can either go to the Legends dealership, or you can actually go to the used car dealership in order to actually get one of these. The car itself is pretty cool. Actually, no, it has that really cool factor about it. And the fact that the car itself is almost 60. Not 60, my bad. Basically, the car is literally around its 50s. Yeah, 50s to say the least. So yeah, this is a 50-year-old supercar. Now, then again, the car will count as a sports car, but in that time, supercars weren't a thing until the Lamborghini Miura was a thing. So this car was actually a bin of parts for the most part. Like for example, you got the engine of you have a Ford engine, you have basically a fiberglass body kit and wing from basically a Lambo for the most part. Because the wedge of the yaw butt and I think that is about it. Everything else is literally just in-house. So yeah, that's basically one of the craziest thing about it. And the fact of the matter is that the car itself, you can actually modify it to the point where it's like, okay, it's more of a resto mod than anything else. And the thing about this car is that this thing has pop-up headlights. Yeah, a car like this has pop-ups and looks good somehow. Yeah, the car looks good with pop-ups. Yeah, that's one of the many things that a lot of people are confused. Like, wait, this car has pop-ups? Yeah, the car has pop-ups, but yeah, but unfortunately, it does suffer the same fate as the BMW M1, whereas it's cool. Unfortunately, a lot of people forgot about it when the car first came out. And not to mention, during that time, no one doesn't know how to make cars a profit, so we had to, um, they have to use any other means. So there's that to say the least. But then again, the crazy part is that Tomaso is actually still around to this day. I think they revealed a concept car on it, so there's that to say the least. But then again, I would not be disappointed if we end up getting a resto modded Tomaso Pantera from '71, and there's that to say the least. In fact, I think you can actually do that. You just need to swap the V8 from the freaking Coyote Ford Mustang. But hey, if it works, it works. Um, so yeah, that's basically it on a Pantera. The car is crazy fun to drive. And the fact that the car is pretty interesting to say the least. I actually did like it a lot. So, anyways, let's move on to the next one. Coming in number 9, we had the Lamborghini Countach 25th Anniversary Edition. Now, the reason why I said 20th Anniversary Edition, and well, it is an anniversary model of the car. Now, for those who are wondering, and those to not get confused, the 25th anniversary is the 1988 model. The LP400 is the 1973 model. Not 73, 74 model, my bad. And this car screams 80s. The shape of it, the aerodynamics, the wheels, the interior, and heck, the car was actually the fastest production car around that time. And keep in mind, this car was so fast that another 80s car, the Buick Grand National, was America's fastest production car, while this car was the fastest car overall. So there's that to say the least. Now, for those wondering, this thing eats season assists and Porsches for breakfast. It ate Camaros and Corvettes and anything else for lunch. And certainly not least, it eats the 80s for dinner. So there's that for the most part. Now, the only thing that the reason why this car is number 9 is not only because the car itself, you can actually get it from the used car dealership, but you can also, but it only comes in red. So thus, you have to either change, so you have to literally keep it red, or you have to change it to either change it to gray or the color. So lore wise, this car was in the channel since 2019. So it was Need for Speed Heat in white, It was Gran Turismo Sport in black, Need for Speed Unbound in black, and then for this video, I actually had it in silver. But originally the car was also in black, so there's that for the most part. So yeah, the Countach is actually my favorite Lambo. I'm not gonna lie, I actually do love Lamborghini, but if I had to choose one, I gotta go with the Lamborghini Countach. Up next, we have the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 LNLE for the number 8 spot. Now, why did I choose the greatest, well, the last of the Chevrolet muscle cars before they discontinue it? It's because of how the car handles. This car is meant for track use, and it shows. The 1LE usually will come with, the 1LE comes with a wing, canards, wider wheels, bigger wheels actually. It's also a staggered setup, so 20s in the front, 21s in the rear. And not to mention, this car is also famous for the Exorcist. Now, those are wondering what the heck is the Exorcist? If you look up Hennessy, then you will look up, then this car would have been alongside it. Now, yeah, and yes, I actually did drive like a DA for the most part. So yeah, that's basically what this car is about. Now, in order to actually get this car, you can actually find this car in Brand Central for 120 grand. And that is if you want to actually spend more for this than spend less on the SS model. But keep in mind, the SS model is actually not that great, to say the least. I know like a lot of people have been like, okay, why do you have the SS in the first place? Because I have like livery for it. That's the reason why. So yeah, that's basically it for the Camaro. So power wise, you can actually what's that called? Oh, sorry, this is not, it's not the end for the Camaro, because the Camaro literally comes with almost 1,000 horsepower when you fully upgrade it with racing stock tires, racing transmission, and basically the biggest supercharger you can actually get. So there's that for the most part. Now, there's one thing I wish this car actually has, and that is a noticeable supercharger whine that you can actually hear. And not obnoxious like the Challenger Demon, which is not on the list. Spoilers. So yeah, the car itself is. So this car is actually one of the many cars that you didn't expect this car to be fast. Like you expect the car to be fast, but you didn't expect the car to be that fast. Like we're talking, this car is actually over here is there's breaking necks, breaking records, and lastly basically breaking someone's spine in terms of someone being in the passenger seat. And just literally just flinging them and flinging them to the back seat as well. So there's that for the most part. So yeah, that is it for the Camaro. It is time for us to actually move on to number 7. And number 7 would actually surprise you. Yeah. Coming in number 7, we have the 911 Turbo from 1980. Now, the reason why I have this higher than the Camaro and the Genesis is either Camaro and the Lamborghini Countach, and it's because unlike the Lamborghini Countach, where it's iconic because of certain different colors, this car is iconic because of how many liveries you can actually make as an icon. Like for example, this livery I have on. This is Johnny Silverhand's car from Cyberpunk. The yellow and black car is from the one, the only, the one and only. Oh my God, what's it called? Um, Yellow Black Widowmaker from Tabletop Racing World Tour. There's also the green RWB one from Need for Speed 2015. There's also the silver one from Need for Speed Shift 2 DLC, to say the least. So yeah, this 930 is all over the place. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, overall the car itself is actually not a bad thing. It's just that a lot of us preferred something a bit different than just basically having a modern Porsche that costs like hundreds of thousands, where we can actually buy certain Porsches like this for literally a fraction of the cost. So there's that, to say the least. Now keep in mind, I love 964s, I love 993s, I love 997s. 996, I actually feel bad for you, but there is something about a 930 that actually clicks with people. And by clicks with people, I mean the car literally gives everybody the attention that they wanted. So yeah, for the most part, I actually do like the fact that that design is constant throughout the the early 60s all the way up to the 1980s. And basically that's when we end up getting stuff like the 964 and the 993. And with that, this is probably one of my favorite Porsches design wise. I actually do like the way this looks. Unfortunately, it doesn't change the fact that you have to be very careful because this car is legit RR, but it's rear engine rear-wheel drive. So, without anything further ado, let's move on to number 6. Number 6 goes to the McLaren 650S. Now, fun fact, I used to hate this car. Yeah, Gadget himself used to not like this car when he was a preteen. Yeah, no joke. I did not like that car at all, and the reason is I found the car extremely lazy. Like, if you look at an MP4 TOC and then you look at the 650S, you will notice how similar the car looks. The only difference being is the front end and the side blades. That's basically about it. Everything else is exactly the same. Same front end, same body, same everything. That's basically why I was not on board with a car like this. Is because of how lazy it looked. Now, this is coming from me, which I actually do like my Evos, but even then, the customer was like, "Hey, I need a new vehicle. I need to borrow the LP4 TLC real quick. I need to borrow the P1 real quick." It's like, okay. They sought the P1 front end to the LP4 TLC. There, that's the new car. But yeah, not gonna lie, it was pretty interesting to say that the car itself isn't that bad, but I prefer it to have, a little bit more character to it. But then again, the car eventually grew on me, and it's like, okay, I like the 650S, even though I like the 570S a lot more. And the reason why I end up eventually liking the 650S is because of CSR2. That's right, CSR2, the racing game of the gacha game of racing games. It made me end up liking this car. Now, you're wondering, okay, which variant of the car? Because there's like 3 of them. Well, the one I'm talking about is the Liberty Walk wide body kit for the 650S, specifically the one with stiletto as a color than a style. And I'm like, yo, this car looks sick. I like the wheels, alright, I like the paint, and the body kit is so immaculate that it doesn't need a wing. Yeah, it's one of those cars that actually has a wide body that doesn't need a freaking wing to proceed, which was the best part about it. But yeah, overall, I actually do like how the car handles. The car is a 800 and 900, basically a close to 900 horsepower monster, and the car tops at 252. With nitrous, I'm pretty sure the car can actually top at around 280, 290 miles per hour on a really good day. But keep in mind, this is keep in mind, this is on straight roads. Yeah, straight roads. Not everything else. Straight roads. Now, like I said, the car itself is actually in other words, you can actually buy this car, in the brand Central. All you need is like around 300 to 250 grand, and you should be good. So yeah, that's basically the summary of the McLaren 650S. Now, what color do I prefer this car in? Well, to put it simply, I like it in blue, I liked it in red, and I liked it in black, as well as white for some reason. Oh, and how can I forget? I actually do like it in McLaren orange too. So there's that. And like on one hand, oh okay, I bought my MP4 TLC. On the other hand, yeah, I bought my 650S. It's like, what the heck? And I was like, yeah, it's literally the same thing. If you put it side by side, you would notice how similar the car is compared to the MP4 TLC. But that's just my personal opinion. But I actually did like driving this car, so this is the reason why it's actually around number 6. Now let's move on to the top 5. Number 5 goes to the Nissan Fairlane Z/370Z Z34. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, why did you have this car on the list? No one likes it. It's a VQ. Unfortunately, for those that did not know, this car actually has an engine swap. That's the crazy part. Most people did not realize this when they started playing Gran Turismo, and then they're like, oh god, that VQ. Let me guess, this thing has over 700 horsepower. Well, funny enough, the car does 700 horsepower when fully built. Yeah, fully built, not fully maxed out, fully built. So there's that, to say the least. But then you're getting tired of VQ's raspy sound, so you prefer to actually just swap the motor. And what motor do they actually give you? They give you a VK45DE. So, for those that are not too familiar with Nissan's engines, other than the VQ, the SR, and the RB, or the DS, or the L series and the S series, the VK models are a V8. It's basically a V8 platform that is actually in multiple infinities. So that will include, the majority of the infinities, and even something as simple as Nissan Titan. So there's that for the most part. So for those that actually refer to, it refers to anything that has a 45 in the name, as well as the VK56DE, which is a 5.6 liter V8. And I'm not gonna lie, the V8 actually fixes so many things, but overall the car itself is actually pretty amazing to drive. And not to mention, it's also a really good drift car, and as well as you can actually recreate some of your favorite cars that is basically a 370Z, which includes me recreating a Veilside kit for it and just painting it green. Up next, we have the Mazda RX7 Spirit R Type A for the number 4 spot. Now, you guys probably saw this coming, but why a number 4? Well, it's because 3 other vehicles ended up beating the car to the spot. Now, the car itself, you can actually get this car in around 2 ways. One of which being the Grand Central, which you can actually get for 250 grand, and another one for 190 grand, if I remember correctly. It's the same thing like the 370Z, which I forgot to mention. I apologize for that. Well, yeah, the car itself is actually pretty amazing, and the fact that the car is the 2002 model, and which wasn't wondering, in Gran Turismo 7. Any car that is around 2001 and older, that's not my bad, 2001 and newer, you can actually buy from Brand Central. Otherwise, if it's a car from the 2000s, then to the 2000s and older, then you have to buy it from either Brand Central or the Legends dealership. So that's basically it for the most part. Many things I actually do like is the fact that figuratively and literally actually give us a lot more tuning potential with this car. And what I like about it is the fact that everybody's recreating their favorite cars from certain media, including Hans RX7, which, my guys, CarX has the body kit. Use that game instead. Like, my goodness, I'm over here. Like, every time, I kid you not, this happens every time in the car show. It's like, oh, Fast and Furious. I wonder how many Hans RX-7s are going to be seen here. But, yeah, the car, the car has a lot of potential. 600 horsepower when you fully upgrade it. 900 horsepower if you end up swapping with the 4-motor. Or if you're fancy enough, you can get the Arya RX7, and unfortunately that's not on the list as well, which you can also VA swap it, so there's that. Up next, we have a tie between the 1996 300ZX and the 2002 Skyline R34 GTR. Now you're probably wondering, why a tie? Well, the simple thing is that I love both Nissans. I love I love the 300ZX and the Skyline. Specifically, I like the R31, though since the R31's not on the list, and not to mention not in the game, the Z32 what had to do. Whereas the R34, I've been loving R34s ever since Need for Speed 2015. My bad, not 2015. Need for Speed Pro Street, which was my first Need for Speed game. Fun fact. And it went from always silver and blue to basically lime green with black, red, and white, to now it's universally impossible for me to actually not recreate the R34 from Need for Speed 2015, which, fun fact, is actually an older. It's from an older game, and I ended up recreating a car a ton of times, to say the least. Now, for those wondering which game is it, well, it's obviously, what I know is Tokyo Stream Racer Drift 2, so that's basically where the design of it came from. So anyways, about the Nissan 300ZX, you can only find this car in the used car dealership for, I think, around 50-60 grand, which, not gonna lie, that is too much for a 300ZX, especially if it's in good condition. And keep in mind, there's probably miles on that car, so there's that for the most part. Now, the next thing about the 300ZX is the fact that it comes with many trim levels. But in terms of my opinion, if you want a 300ZX in real life, get the non-turbo model and get the slick top. There are, because I kid you not, you probably would thank me or would not thank me later, because obviously I do not know about how to buy a car, because I never buy my car at all. So there's that for the most part. Um, so yeah, not to mention the non-turbos are usually the ones that a lot of people will buy that are basically reliability, and not to mention it's a lot easier to work on other than just dropping the motor, uh, upgrade it and put the motor back together, and then just slap it onto the RCX. Now, as for the R34, unfortunately, this car you can only buy in Brand Central. I'm sorry. Specifically, you can actually get this car for 550 grand. Yeah, 550 grand for a Skyline R34 GTR. Now, what kind of sense does this make? Why in the world are we spending so much money on an R34 GTR V-Spec 2? Well, for those that do not know, this is no ordinary V-Spec 2. This is a V-Spec 2 NER. For those wondering, the NER model is actually a... Well, I don't think it's a homologation model, that's one thing for sure, but the NER model actually is for the Nürburgring that actually beat the record around the time, so there's that for the most part. But then again, when it comes to the R34s, there are many trim levels. You got your basic Nissan Skyline GT, which is a non-turbo 2.5 liter with a 2 liter inline 6 with over 158 horsepower. And then you have the GTT, which is the turbo model, and then you have the R34 GTR, which is basically let's say based on which variant it is, you already got a 99 variant of the RB26, or you might get a 2002 Nissan Skyline V-Spec 2, not V-Spec, M-Spec NER model of the same car. So there's that. So in around 1999, the car itself was given praise because obviously it was lighter than the R33. It was also a lot more aggressive than the R33 because let's be honest, the R33 in the front end looks like an S14 Zenki. That's just my personal opinion. But at the same time, it actually is pretty interesting to say the least about having an R34 like this. And not to mention, a lot of tuning companies end up getting their hands on it. Vilside got it, Mines got it, Turismo got it, Top Secret got it. Heck, even MSR ends up getting their hands on it, as well as Tommy Kyra. So, yeah, the car itself is actually iconic for many ways, including the video games and movie scene. Like, seriously, the R34 is extremely famous because of Too Fast and Furious. So, yeah, let's move on to number 2. Now, if the FD was the hot girl, this is her hotter sister. This is the 1990 Mazda RX7 FC, who is the number 2 spot on the list. Now, if I wasn't wondering, okay, why did I pick the FC over the FD? Now, the FD's problem is the fact that the car itself, you can't even get the car without either the car being a shell or being garage kept and basically not running. So that's basically one of those two reasons. And this game, I'm using real life examples of it, so there's that. Now in terms of the FCs, you can actually find these for basically a cheap project car, and you can actually if you end up wanting to drive around with a car like this, you can actually get yourself one. Specifically, you can actually get either. Unfortunately, you can't find a GTX somewhere that is extremely that is extremely reliable. So you have to either find a GXL, which is the non-turbo 1.1 liter 2-rotor, or you can find a 13B REW model, which is the GTU. So the GTUs are the second to last model for the Mazda RX7. But if you want the full thing, then just get the GTX. That's basically it. Or, and this is a giant or, you can actually get the Infiniti RX7 FC from 1991. Now, the ones I usually would prefer is literally the 86 to 88 Mazda RX7s, specifically the 99, the Series 4 RX7s. Because the reason is because I actually do like the taillights of it, and not the Series 5. Because the Series 4 you can actually find easily for cheap. Unfortunately, with the Series 5, they're a lot harder to get, and a lot of people are not trying to buy rotary motors for this car, and a lot of people either saw them with V8s or they saw them with like a 2J or RB. In fact, the car itself is swap friendly. It's to a point where you don't know if the car will have a 2-water or a different engine entirely. So yeah, there's that. Along with that, you can also swap a 4-water into the FC RX7, and it would actually give it the boost it needs. But then again, it will be a lot more simpler to actually just find a vehicle that will actually meet all your needs, including being an 80s icon for the Japanese, especially if it's actually during the racing times of the R32s, the S13s, the Mazda Miata. The FC is a silent icon that a lot of people will love, and not to mention they will probably buy this along with the FD. So let's move on to our number one contender. And number one contender is the 2015 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10 Final Edition. Now, for those are wondering why the, and for those okay, I'm not gonna hold you guys. You should have known this by now. You guys should have known that the Evo 10 is actually not only my favorite Mitsubishi Evo, but it's actually my favorite car ever. So, what kind of sense does this make? I put an FC in front of you guys and showed this. Shouldn't the FC be number one? I get what you're saying, but in terms of the availability, it's extremely easy to get. Just get 70 grand, and you should be good. Now, not to mention that the latest update did give this car a second engine swap in the form of the Group B motor that is in its rally variant of it, which not only gives the car around 600 to 700 horsepower, but you can also get the car up to 8,500 RPM, and you can actually get the car itself. You can also wide body the car, which is a lot more better than I thought. And not to mention, in fact, I think I actually getting so many versions of this car that unfortunately you get all of them, so I had to recreate one of them, which is pretty interesting to say the least. But yeah, this car actually has no problems whatsoever. In fact, you can actually do so many builds along with it, so that's basically it. So with that out of the way, so yeah, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 10 Final Edition is actually my number one vehicle in Gran Turismo 7. Now, if I have to be completely honest, This this freaking video took me a few days. I kid you not. When I say be specific, I started start recording obviously around the 26th, and then I recorded more on the 27th. Anyways, here's the honorable mentions: the M392, the Season 6 5 Banana, Mazda RX8, Sylvia S15, Fugu Z, Mazda 177, Dodge Viper GTS, and the Renault Begin Coupe. Now, this video did take me a few days, so if you end up liking this video, drop a like and subscribe. If you don't like it, then hey, I could have done better, so there's that to say the least. So, with that out of the way, this is God to sign off, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.